Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Cabinet is expected to revisit the restrictions on public gatherings as efforts continue to stop the spread of COVID-19. The measures, which took effect last Wednesday, affect nightlife, funerals, weddings, and other group activities. The Prime Minister announced that the restrictions will remain in force for at least 7 days. Social distancing and other methods, Jamaicans are refusing to follow the rules, and those measures will also be discussed by Cabinet. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says an update will be provided at this afternoon's press conference.
It is something that we monitor and discuss today at Cabinet. We will review the 7-day restrictions that we had imposed 5 days ago to look at the first 7 days and to see what other decisions we'll have to make. So those are issues that will come into the discussion and decisions made appropriately and announced.
Actor Bad Boy Trevor, whose given name is Garfield Reed, is among 2 persons charged with breaches of several legislation, including one activated to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in Jamaica. The 50-year-old nightclub operator and 22-year-old cashier Kenil Smith are charged with breaches of the Disaster Risk Management, Noise Abatement, State of Emergency and Spirit License Acts. A statement issued by the police said the party was kept at 31 Plantation Drive in Kingston 20. After shutting down the party, the police team seized a console and a quantity of liquor. A warning this afternoon for people to follow guidelines outlined by the government to prevent the spread of COVID-19. For example, social distancing. This as COVID-19 cases have been increasing globally. O'Shane Masters has details.
A call this afternoon for Jamaicans to take the warnings of the health ministry seriously. It comes from opposition spokesman and medical doctor Dayton Campbell.
So the projection is that it will affect 80% of the population. So roughly about 20% then will get sick. Of the 20% that get sick...
20% of the 80%.
Of the 80%, now about 20%
Right.
of them will require
Right.
inpatient care in a hospital.
Right.
The majority of persons are going to be asymptomatic, means they don't have symptoms or they're going to be mild. Now, if you take 20% of that 80%, so we are roughly 3 million people, so 80% is 2.4 million. And 20% of that now, you're looking at, that's what, about 500,000. So it's a lot of persons.
He says with that kind of a grim picture for an island as Jamaica, it will be taxing on the health sector. This, he argues, as there will be an increased demand for ventilators. Dr. Campbell says currently Jamaica has 20 intensive care units, ICU, with additional spaces to come on stream soon. But what is troubling, he notes, is...
So you want to ensure that at no one point in time you have more than, say, 10 or 20 critical cases, because if you do, then you will have to start playing God now, deciding who should get a ventilator and who shouldn't, and essentially who should live and who will die. And that's why it is critical for persons to stay inside, for them to follow the hygienic practices as to how to cough into the elbow, to wash their hands, to use their hand sanitizers and those other things to prevent the spread.
Globally, there have been over 300,000 positive cases of the coronavirus, with over 15,400 deaths. In Jamaica, up to Sunday, there were 19 confirmed cases and 1 death. But with the closure of the island's borders last Saturday to all incoming passengers, except in a few cases until tomorrow, the government is expecting that the spread of the virus will be contained. O'Shane Masters.
Thank you very much, O'Shane. And with thousands of people expected to lose their jobs due to the threat of the coronavirus, the government is preparing to fill that gap by providing care packages. As we hear in this report, things may become worse in the tourism industry.
Speaking Monday morning on TVJ Smile Jamaica, senior strategist in the tourism ministry Delano Seawright said in coming days the downturn in the local hotel industry will worsen. Due to the fear of the COVID-19 virus, at least 90% of properties have already closed their doors or have scaled down operations, while bookings have virtually dried up. Mr. Seawright said the outlook remains grim.
The sector in and of itself is basically grinding to a halt, There are basically no tourists coming in of note, and most hotels will be closed before the end of the month or are fully scaling down operations, and there are a lot of people who have been affected.
He estimated that about 125,000 direct jobs are affected, while more than 100,000 indirect jobs are impacted. That means a lot of persons have lost their jobs due to the impact of COVID-19. However, Mr. Seawright explained that the government is looking towards providing COVID-19 care packages.
The Ministry of Finance is working on the details as we speak, because of course it's a very complex, it's a complicated process, but they're moving as quickly as possible to get that done. So persons who have lost their jobs since March 10, when we first had the first case in Jamaica, COVID case in Jamaica, once it's verified that you lost your job, then there will be some cash transfer program in place for you.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
In other news, 8 murders were reported yesterday across 4 police divisions, among them a triple and double murder. The incidents took place in St. James, St. Andrews South, Westmoreland and Kingston Central. 3 of the divisions are under a state of public emergency. And the St. James Police have identified 2 persons of interest in the shooting death of a 9-year-old boy in Flanker yesterday. The person of interest is identified as Lance J. Sterling, and he's being asked to turn himself in. 3 other people, including a 6-year-old girl, were also injured in the incident, which stemmed from a quarrel. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang has again poured cold water on the suggestion from the opposition that they will bring back past police initiatives such as Operation Kingfish to fight crime. Dr. Chang labeled that type of targeted policing as old order. He addressed the matter after a recent tour of the Police Emergency Center.
The kind of old order where a special squad of policemen go out and you chase down 2 or 3 high-value criminals, and you seem to get some results, but very soon it bounces back up. That's been the experience over the last 40 years. You know, the talk of reduction at one point is purely statistical variation. What we have to do is to provide the police with the tools that when they execute their activities, it is sustainable. Because what you have is designed to give them the level of efficiency that they can conduct the operation in a way that we are sure it will maintain law and order over time.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. We have more stories right after these messages. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. Schools have been officially closed since March 13 to contain the spread of COVID-19. And for one family, they are doing their part to ensure their children are not left behind.
Identify 3 food items that are found in Cuba and Jamaica.
School is definitely not out for this 11-year-old girl and 7-year-old boy. Seats at the kitchen table are now the home versions of desks and chairs in the classroom. Mom, Donette Williams, is a language arts teacher by profession. At home, she's the principal. For Dad, Garth Williams, a regular teacher and support system.
We get up a little later than usual. We normally get up around 6 o'clock to get to school by 7:30. Now the time is relaxed, so they get up a little closer to 7 o'clock. We eat, bathe, get dressed for school without the uniform. So they're just casual clothes. So it's like summer school really. And then once breakfast is done, they have a little free time, so to speak, and then we get into the regime.
And then I go and look at my timetable to see what subjects I have for today. And because my teacher gave us what we're supposed to do for the period of time that we're at home, I go to this book that I wrote it down in. And based on the subjects that I have today, I do the activities that I have for this week.
My mother writes the work. I write it back in my book. I complete the work. I go to a different subject until I'm done with all the subjects.
Keeping in touch with teachers is key.
We are learning about double-digit subtraction in this video.
Technology is being utilized as lessons are submitted and clarified via phone calls, emails, and WhatsApp.
So far, so good. They're adjusting. They complain of boredom because they don't have their peers around them to, have the little idle chatter occasionally in class or whatever.
I don't want them to be out of the routine that they have for school. So I try as best as I can to stick to the timetable that they work with at school. So I try to give breaks at the same time that they would get break. It might be a little longer.
Anyhow. Darn it!
Now, extracurricular activities are part of the routine for the children. The little boy plays chess, but since chess club is on pause for now, the atmosphere is being recreated at home. And since there's no dance studio, the garage is now the place for practice sessions. The message to parents: take the time to strengthen the bond with the children, do more projects, and have fun.
So when we talk about homeschool and working from home, yeah, it's easy to talk about that. But then you have to also consider the different types of domestic situations in which people find themselves and keep that in mind. Because for us, we live in a quiet neighborhood, very thankful for that. But there are other people who there's a constant soundbox blaring somewhere, beating on a zinc. I don't know. You just can think about it, right? So we are very happy to be able to be in the situation. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter where you are, you can still find time and find ways to bond with the children. You just have to think about where you are and how you make use of that.
If you work in Kingston, you may have noticed a cleaner city as you went to work this morning. The Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation is conducting a citywide cleanup program. More from Giovanni Dennis.
Disinfecting, scrubbing and power spraying on a massive scale. A citywide cleanup to contain COVID. These workers have been contracted by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation to clean areas many people use daily. For this senior citizen, the coronavirus may have brought with it a blessing.
And the first I ever seen Jamaica street wash. First I experienced it. I think they have done a good job. The man just thinking to get one wash long time.
You know, it's a long time this shall go on still, but no more important because the corona and everything there. We have to clean up the place and we're glad to see what go on.
The cleaners have been working since last week, starting in Coronation Market. Today, they cleansed other areas. Kingston Mayor Delroy Williams is the man in charge.
We did outreach yesterday, the Mandela Park area, the Papine Park, and other sections. Today we are engaged with the Papine Market. We are also at Crossroads Square, the St. William Grand Park, and we're here in New Kingston.
But there's been one observation in all locations, a stench not caused by COVID-19 that is especially concerning to the mayor.
The urination in public spaces is a major issue in sections of our municipality, and it's something that we know as a municipality that we have to address.
He insists the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation is moving to permanently zip the smell.
We did move a resolution to amend certain acts, and in terms of the fines for urination and just general discarding of waste in public spaces, and that is now with the Ministry of Local Government. We have been following up with the Ministry of Local Government because as soon as those fines are increased, we will also be stepping up our enforcement.
Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
And in sports, World Athletics has reportedly called on the International Olympic Committee to postpone the Olympic Games amidst fear of the coronavirus pandemic. Trishana McGowan has that story.
In a letter leaked to renowned publication Inside the Games, World Athletics President Sebastian Coe asserted that Tokyo 2020 taking place as planned in July and August is neither feasible nor desirable amid growing international concern over the pandemic. Coe cited competition fairness, the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak on training, and the increased risk of athletes suffering injuries as the three main reasons why the organization believes the Olympics should be postponed. World Athletics, the first international federation to urge the IOC to move the event, says it remains available and that they're ready to help secure a new date for Tokyo 2020. Ko also argued that postponing Tokyo 2020 would put an end to the anguish and uncertainty being felt by athletes due to the pandemic and its impact on training and qualification for the Games. Trishana McGowan, TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.